Hey guys, Mustached. I'm here to review The Last of Us Season 2, Episode 7, Convergence. So, it's time for everyone with a weak will to rage at the machine again. Because, of course, somebody was going to die. And if you played the video game, you knew that Jesse also died in the video game. And Tommy did as well. It was just Ellie and Abby at the end of it, and Dina. Those were the only effective 3 people left in this sort of grouping. So I suspect that, if there was any goodwill left, that it is completely drained. But I am here to review it as objectively as possible, which means I'm putting my feelings aside and just looking at what happens. So yes, there is a bit of an inconvenience, or rather a cheat, in this episode, and that being that Ellie did actually get information from Dina about where Abby's location actually was. So this is a cheat of convenience, and to get us to the last bit of the race, at least from Ellie's standpoint, that being getting to the whale house, as described, as these warring factions are still at each other's throats, more so now than ever before. In fact, in doing so, she ends up on an island where she's almost, again, the most conveniences in this episode, but if the timelines add up, I believe, from Abby's story, she's actually the reason that the village is being attacked, as we hear in this episode. From Ellie's standpoint, she just gets to survive, and it just appears out of convenience. But again, the timeline bullshittery will sort of have to commence. So that was one of the issues with the video game, is that, you had this weird split of day 1 through 3, and then it went back and then did a day 1 through 3. So we're doing that setup again here, not surprisingly so. I suppose at a more, if you were to do it in a more conventional way of, like, backing and forthing of it, it would be a day 1, day 2, day 2, and then a day 3 comparison. So that way the lining up of things seems like it's, like, happening side by side, rather than you have to, like, think back to, like, what happened on day 2 of a certain of Seattle excursion. So yeah, like, just in terms of, like, placement, it's still I would still describe this as a much more flawed system, versus, again, the day one comparison is. So yeah, obviously this allows Ellie to get to that place and kill 2 more of Abby's individuals. And now that tangentially of like bits and bobs of information that we've been receiving about her, sort of riding that wave of revenge, now cultivates in its inception of a lot of people were criticizing that she did not seem like a person who wanted revenge. And now, in this episode, that feeling feels justified. Yes, all of the criticisms are actually praising this episode, and I bet no other reviewer is going to point that out that has been criticizing every other episode. I guarantee you they're going to forget everything they just said, and they're going to criticize this episode too because Jesse dies. Because he died in the video game, and they're keeping it consistent with the show. Whoops. And yeah, it sort of just is like, bam, he's dead, but we'll get to that in a moment. Obviously, Ellie was trying to get Abby's location through the map scene, and ends up shooting them both with one bullet at any rate. And that's when we find out Mel was indeed pregnant, as implied, or at least, more so in the video game than now. And thus, we see and both hear how that consistency of having the struggle of vengeance now feels like it has fulfilled its purpose, seeing that, a pregnant Mel has completely broken down Ellie. And this is something that was, that dissonance of, like, what Ellie was like in the video game was so, she was just so gung-ho, and, you kill people in the video game more so than the show clearly ever does. And to have all of that, compounded, versus what we see here, even in personality, it makes a lot more sense for this Ellie to feel compromised in what she's doing. But still, the mission isn't completely gone. It's not like that's the case. It's struggling internally about what to do. She even says, when they get back to the theater with Tommy and Jesse in this case, that letting Abby go might have to be the thing that she has to do. This is also in the video game. And that's something that she might have to live with. And you could see that she's even feeling a bit distraught there in that revelation of sorts. But of course they're in the theater, and that's where we know where Jesse died in the video game. So they kept that consistent. So Jesse dies as soon as he pops his head through that door. And it's, it is as much... And hey, they at least gave Jesse the explanation of how he found the theater, unlike they do in the video game, so they even fixed that mistake before taking him out. So, there's that. And everything he says about staying alive, which, is a very clear signpost that he's going to die. Though, now I'm misremembering, because I thought Tommy died before Jesse. I thought the sniper battle is where he died. Maybe I'm misremembering at this juncture. It's been a long time since I remember what happens to Tommy specifically. At any rate, obviously Jesse dies, and it's Abby who's at fault. And to set us up for, obviously, they were, pushing that Season 3 was going to follow Abby, we then, after Abby is done, or pointing the gun at Ellie, and we hear a gun noise, presumably her shooting Ellie, quote-unquote. I'm not sure what that actually means, because obviously Ellie is alive in the game, so I'm not sure what that actually means. But then we cut backwards to Abby Day 1 in Seattle, and where she was, and surprise, surprise, it looks exactly what it does in the video game, because everything, again, in terms of keeping it to the video game, they have been doing surprisingly well in fixing the little bits and bobs along the way about Joel's death, tightening that up, certain aspects and changing very few things, where Tommy is, I believe, is a little bit different here. Again, I could be wrong on that one, but I don't remember exactly, but regardless. So yeah, that is in essence the season. So I think it's a fair part, or, bring up points to talk about what the season has been overall. And, I'm not sitting here saying that this is by any means a masterpiece, but I'm not, sitting here and boo-hooing that every episode is bad because they killed Joe. I'm not a little baby like the critical drinker. No. I'm here to be as objective as possible. So I'm setting feelings aside and just addressing what's in the show. And again, I'm addressing what's been tightened up. And again, you heard me criticized what was meant to be criticized about how Ellie just got the information off screen again. So again, I'm doing both of these things because they're both present in the show. I'm not talking about external factors or talking about really stupid shit like Ellie's expressions or like whatever. But yeah, again, I'm not here to say it's a masterpiece, but I'm also not here to say it's terrible. It's fine, okay? The show is fine. It's fine. Now, I've been thinking about The Walking Dead, because there are similarities, but there are definitely major differences between the two shows, but they're both zombie apocalypses for the most part. So it is an interesting question about which one would I say is a stronger Season 2. Season 2 of The Walking Dead or Season 2 of The Last of Us. Now, for those of you who don't remember The Walking Dead Season 2, that was The Farm. A lot of criticisms at the time were made around how they were at the farm and not as much was happening and everything was looking for the girl and like tick tick tick, like what's happening. And in retrospect, I think I found a newfound respect for the farm in looking back at it, because in a way the farm is one of the biggest shifts in the main character's dynamic, that being Rick Grimes. When they do indeed find said zombified girl, and he is the one who steps up. I think that is like one of the biggest defining moments in all of The Walking Dead, dare I suggest, like probably in the top 5 bare minimum. So yeah, like, for as quote, how little happens in the farm, one of the biggest things literally happens in Season 2. I think that's pretty hard to deny at this point. Again, in looking at it from a retrospective point of view, about how far Rick Grimes has shifted and changed over his dynamic years on that show. Comparatively so. So I think I would actually argue that Season 2 is actually, I would give it to The Walking Dead. By a little bit. But again, The Last of Us Season 2 is fine. It's fine. It's not terrible because of how Ellie or how the actress emotes or whatever. Like, whatever. Like, they could have done a few reshoots or whatever. Like, bare minimum, like, baby's first argument of like, oh, someone's making a terrible face, therefore bad? That doesn't even make that much sense. Like, fuck me for trying to be a quality reviewer, I guess. I'm actually trying to pinpoint of like, okay, when are things, cause and effect? When are things breaking of like, again, when Ellie receives that information off screen, again, these bits and bobs that are actually tangential to what we're seeing and what we are not seeing, and what is being told to us after the fact. These are things that I believe are worth criticizing, because, again, that's actually writing, which is my focus. primarily. So, and again, I've been talking about also, again, what they have been tightening up in the writing. Again, Joel's death being definitely the biggest one, because I do think that one really, at least from when it came to the game, really downpours the rest of that gaming experience down to you start to just follow Ellie, and then when you get to the point at the end, you feel like, oh, like, that's it? We are actually just gonna let Abby go after all of that? Again, that's the experience that is most people's outcomes from what I recall from watching other gamers play The Last of Us 2. And in correlation to the show, I feel like, again, they more tightened up Joel's death. People still found reasons to complain about it. Like, they had a definitive cure. Now, I went back, and you heard me criticize this last time, but then I re-watched the episode, and I heard what Ellie questioned. She said, could they have found a cure? And Joel says yes. Could is not definitive. That's fucking brilliant. Like, how do you criticize that? Could. That was her question, and I missed that. I missed that because I was actually getting wrapped up in, like, the after answer of, like, oh, there was a cure. Like, and that, to me, that, like, disoriented, like, where I was taking it when I was criticizing it. But no, if you actually listened to what Ellie asked specifically, she said, could they have found a cure? That changes every criticism I had at that episode, and I retract that criticism because I think that actually justifies not only Joel's answer, but Ellie's response. Because, again, it's not definitive, and I don't care what the creator says, that is the writing in the episode. Death of the author and all of that. That is being as objective as possible. So yes, I apologize. I fucked up in one of my criticisms. You see what that's like, being a responsible reviewer, apologizing when you fuck up? That is something that I feel is so far missing in every, a good chunk of reviewers that I still watch, just to see how fucking stupid their criticisms are by comparison. It's like, how the fuck did you even achieve the amount of subscribers he had, Critical Drinker? How the fuck did you ever do it with your dog shit takes? It's like, how? It's so baffling to me. Anywho, so yeah, this episode has its own issues, again, which I addressed. And now, those issues are still consistent because there isn't some sort of there wasn't some sort of, like, flashback here showing us the re-torture scene and then after, like, her actually saying these things. That would have fixed that criticism right there, but that doesn't happen. So my criticism here still holds. That's how that works. So yeah, overall I say this season is fine. Like, it's fine. It's not terrible, it's not a masterpiece. It's somewhere decent. And that's my review of The Last of Us. So if you ended up enjoying that, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also make sure to check out those links in the description. One will head you over to my petition to help out small YouTubers. Second to my PayPal, where you can help support me and my channel directly. And third to my Discord server, where you can join, collab, shield, all that cool stuff. And until next time, everyone, bye-bye.